heater or anything else, but I could ask them to turn it up a little bit more. Is that? Yeah.
It might be get two on.
No, we'll get it perfect. We can do this. So some other announcements is for those of us who are in the practice period, you're in it whether you think you're in it or not, but if you're formally in it, there will be a newsletter coming out at the end of this week to remind us that there is an all practice period tea coming up on November 24th. If you please be in touch with your practice period partners. I don't know if you're anything like me. It's hard to believe that a week ago was just a week ago, and I feel like I've been wandering around in a fog and I feel like I'm starting to come out into another world that I have no idea what it is, but feeling more present. So call your practice period partners, have conversations, relationship. We're going to work on relationships tonight. Woohoo. And a reminder, we had a really lovely sitting on Sunday and at the beginning of December, traditional Buddha's Enlightenment retreat, which I'm calling Buddha's Awakening retreat. I'm rebelling. What a surprise. I like the word awakening more than enlightening, although they're both lovely. We'll be sitting for 2 days, and please come do what you can. Sitting is wise, wonderful, and benefits the entire world, not to mention your own state of mind and body. And so we are continuing to work on the slogans. The slogans are continuing to work on us. I think it was a pretty good call that these slogans could be helpful during this time. And we have come to the I don't want to say it's true, but the fun part. We've been doing all the preliminaries, which are more abstract. We've got a good ground underneath us. And now I think these are actually funny. I mean, it feels to me like whoever created these slogans was wise and had a good sense of humor. So I'm going to lay some more ground today, and on Thursday I'll go into some more of my favorite ones, and Gretchen will continue on Tuesday with the one that she's picked. So when I was, and precepts is tonight. I forgot, precepts is tonight. To not be intoxicated by substances or doctrines. The world just keeps teaching us, doesn't it? Okay, so Norman called this the discipline of this section 7, the discipline of relationship. Traditionally, I think it's called the discipline of mind because we're studying the mind. But I think it's kind of brilliant that what he did is you can't study. The way we study everything is in relationship because we're in relationship with ourselves and other people in the world all the time. So that's where we get the mirrors and the reflections, and also become very humble because, in case you hadn't noticed, other people and things do not cooperate with our agenda for very long. We'll always be surprised. So I thought what I would do is I wanted to read and just do some commentary from the Training in Compassion Zen teachings on the practice of Lojong. And then I'm hoping we'll have a little time to talk about this. Remember that although we're practicing 59 slogans for generating compassion and resilience, compassion turns out not to be what it seems. There's much more to it than simply being nice and sympathetic to others. And it turns out that being nice and sympathetic to others isn't so easy either. It's not that we're not trying to be nice and sympathetic to others. Of course we aspire to be that way. But deeper reflection shows us that if we want to love and connect to others authentically, that means not putting something on top. Authentically, an authentic response. We have to liberate ourselves from our ingrained self-centeredness, which means we also have to work on ourselves, on our own minds with some seriousness. Compassion isn't just about others, it's also about ourselves. We have to go deeper than the usual viewpoint of self versus others. It isn't enough to be polite or know the right ways to talk to people. We have to have a change of heart. With this change of heart comes resilience. You know they're called little Bodhidharma dolls. They're from Japan. They're little round bottomed beings. They come in different forms, but you push them and they come back up. They're round. They're called Bodhidharma dolls because the story is that Bodhidharma, who was one of the fierce original ancestors, sat so much that he just got all rounded. So you push, and it comes back up. You push, and it comes back up. I kind of have that feeling right now. Like, whoa, but then something like, oh, here we are. I don't know where we are, but here we are. And I recognize this, and then it's like I read another news story or something like, whoa, and then you have some idea what I'm talking about? Oh, yeah. So at this point in our training program, it becomes clear that we need to start with resolve and motivation. We have to know what we're doing and why, and based on these reflections, you firmly decide to take on the training. I don't want to just be kind and compassionate and committed to my bodhisattva ideals when the world is going my way. That's the good news of this time, is we got some ground to walk through here, and nobody knows what it is, and it's a training ground. So yep, resolve to begin over and over. Get serious about your life, and that being serious means getting over your old habits of self-obsession, which in turn means developing genuine empathy and compassion. Study really gently and kindly how much we think we're the center of the universe. And it turns out that everybody else thinks the same thing. And so how are we going to do this? That everything is the center of the universe. Every tree, every flower, every insect, everything has its own Dharma position. And how are we going to be here and take care of each other and this world, which also doesn't mean just being nice. How are we going to do this? Don't ask me. That was supposed to be a joke. And very serious. Although you might not quite be ready for it and might have to go back to it later, more than once you contemplate at some depth the nature of self and other. What is this othering that we do? You have to be willing to deal with pain, yours as well as theirs. Hence training in empathy and compassion. Difficulties are sure to arise, and if they discourage you and you don't know how to endure them and make use of them, then all the work they've done so far will blow you away. It'll just blow you away. You'll just go. I mean, if you go over and you lay down on the ground for a while, that's it too. But it is the vow or whatever language you use to be here with and for all beings. Like, okay, here I am. Having worked on that, at least to the point of questioning your usual impulse to run away from or eliminate difficulties, your level of commitment and seriousness increases until there's no difference between your mind and, I would say, heart training and your life. This is it. So we make practice our whole life. A lot of forgiveness, a lot of gentleness and kindness, and seriousness. We encourage ourselves to stay on the path and avoid veering off this way or that. You recognize the inner signs of your distraction and avoidance and learn to dance with them rather than losing track of yourself because of them. Sometimes it's a pretty crazy dance, but you stay in the dance. It's all about working with the state of your mind. Although we've considered compassion on a profound and almost abstract level, the slogans have yet to instruct us in the down and dirty daily struggles. I love this. We're getting into the down and dirty just in time that we are having with the people of our lives. So now, time for point 6, the discipline of relationship. I looked up discipline once. I probably heard me say this before. It's the rebellious part of me. It's like, I don't want it. The discipline has the same root word as disciple. It's to be a disciple of your deepest heart, your deepest yearning. That completely turns it for me. Nobody's telling you to do this. Nobody's telling me to do this because you should, and it'll make you a good person, or it's because something in our heart just keeps saying yes. We need others so much, and yet nothing is more troublesome than others. No matter how much we love them, it's so humbling. Getting along with others is very complicated. Do you know how normalizing this is? I think it's so easy in spiritual traditions to just think you should just get over this, or you should go up above it, or if this happens, it means there's something wrong with you, or you're not doing it good enough, or I'm sorry, this is it. This is how we turn into true human beings. And I think every tradition says this if you look deeply enough. The better we know others, our partners, oh, what wonderful practice ground. Mm-hmm. If you have a partner, if not, I'm sure somebody else will come. You know the saying, the rock tumbler of Sangha? Mm-hmm. It's like that's part of why we come here is we think, oh, I'm going to come to this refuge and there's going to be all these great people, which is completely true. And then you realize that there's probably at least one person in the Sangha who's bugging you or whatever, it's like, huh? We get to run into people that we would never get to run into and be intimate with in any other circumstance. And Lou Hartman, who was Blanche Hartman's husband, who was he wasn't a labor organizer, but he was he was blacklisted. Lou Hartman was really the most amazing old curmudgeon. And he just stayed and he just stayed and he just stayed because he had this huge, amazing heart. And he would talk about the rock tumbler of Sangha all the time. So get over thinking that this is perfect, and it is completely perfect. The more we have dealings with other, the harder it gets. We might consider ourselves to be kind and reasonable people, but others seem to be not so reasonable. This kind of make you laugh sometimes. Regardless of how calm, good, and nice we think we have become, as long as we and others have desires and needs, we will clash. And if we don't expect this and learn how to deal with it, we will either have to live in some sequestered self-protective way or be embroiled in stressful controversy much of the time. Human relationship is indeed a discipline and a complicated one at that. Yet how could we ever develop altruism and compassion and therefore some measure of personal happiness, connection, and wisdom if we can't get down to basics and deal with people as they actually are and the world as it actually is with all of its messiness? It's what I love about going out and canvassing. And you know, you just, I couldn't protect myself. Like there's human beings with our wants and desires and pain and sorrow, love and care. You just don't know. But here I am. Here we are. Dealing with others is dealing with ourselves, dealing with others. There are no others apart from us, and there is no us apart from them. Our problem with others are our problems with ourselves and vice versa. Recognizing this is the first principle. It's all a mirror. It's so humbling and amazing to see that a person that or a situation that I might be triggered by, and then I look at someone next to me and it's not bothering them at all. Of course, something else would be bothering them that I would not even notice. It's all causes and conditions and conditioning, and we all take things enormously personally. That's what we do. But study it. Dogen says to study the self is to know the self. To know the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be awakened or intimate with the 10,000 things. An increasing ability to be able to be here. This is what I want. I don't know what you want. They train us to take ourselves in hand, the slogan, so that we can be different in our interactions with others. And gradually we learn that when we are different, others are different too, because without our understanding that we have been doing this, we have been co-creating with others the conflicts and interpersonal hassles of our lives. Got a lot of study to do here in this world. So maybe can we just put up there's six, I think there's 16 slogans in this section. We can just take a little look for people on screen, and I'll just read them. You know, maybe one will jump up at you. Maybe it's already one that you've picked up. And again, we'll talk about these more as we go along. The first one, come back to basics, which I'm going to talk about more in a minute. Don't be a phony. Don't talk about faults. Uh-oh. I love this one. Don't figure others out.
Mhm.
Wow, does that stop you in your tracks?
Mhm.
Work with your biggest problems first. Abandon hope. Don't poison yourself. This is another one of my favorites. Don't be so predictable. Isn't that funny? You don't think it's as funny as I do. Don't malign others. Don't wait in ambush. I love that one too.
Yeah.
Don't make everything so painful. Don't unload on everyone. Don't go so fast. Don't be tricky. Don't make gods into demons. Don't rejoice at others' pain. Whew. Okay, so we can take it down now. But it's in the newsletter and we'll send it out again and you can find it, and we'll just, I hope you found some that speak to you. So just a moment of coming back to basics. 3 points in the traditional commentary. The first point is more or less what this commentary has been saying: renew and keep to your commitments. What's important to you? What did you say in your practice period commitments, which may have changed or opened? It doesn't mean you have to like grab a hold of something really tightly, but in the most fundamental way, what's your practice? What do you care about? Keep coming back. The second is don't act outrageously. Now, most of us are very civilized, kind human beings. I'm sure none of us are outrageous most of the time. In ancient India and Tibet, this meant things like don't chop down trees where spirits dwell, don't pee in rivers, don't hug lepers. That is, refrain from dangerous, antisocial, or attention-grabbing activities, outrageous things that would draw attention to you. This may seem an odd thing to bring up in this context, but maybe not. Possibly up to now, we have been tempted a time or two to be a bit precious or over earnest about our spiritual endeavors. Oh my goodness. A little holier than thou. We may have felt a bit holier than thou more than once. This is no good in any case, but perhaps not so bad in the privacy of your own mind. It's really funny what's going on in our own mind. It's people can smell it. It may be subtle. You may think you're getting away with it, but in the end, let's see. But now that we are about to embark on the practice of interacting with others, it becomes really bad to come off as though we were holy and spiritual. Sometimes in Zen, it's called, well, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'll say this, and I don't even know where I got this, so maybe I made it up, is that when people are first ordained in Zen, you have this thing where you can be a priest, you can take, it's called the stink of Zen. It's like for 5 years, it's like people are trying so hard to be sanctimonious and helpful and good, and everybody else is just like, when is this person going to calm down? I actually love that because we're all doing it in one way or another. It's like, oh. As if somehow, because of the virtue of our commitments and spiritual efforts, we are conducting ourselves differently from the general run of humanity. A lot of commentary going on about the election and who did this and who didn't do that and who was, it's we'll just keep listening with our whole body, heart. Clearly, this is a huge problem for our relationships. Nothing makes people feel criticized and even a little bit hostile, like someone else's pretentious efforts to be good or to help you or to fix you. So don't act outrageously. Keep your efforts to practice the discipline of human relationships within the bounds of ordinary human interaction. Don't appear to be different from anyone else. One way or another, we're all in this game together. It's one of the things I love about Zen. That's the other side of it, is it's warm hand to warm hand, and it's face to face, and it's heart to heart. It's body. An authentic meeting is like, if there's any purpose, is how can I just show up and be here? Nothing extra. How can we meet? I mean, really deeply, truly meet in a moment. And the third point is, don't be so one-sided, or don't be one-sided. There's always another side. If there's a side, there's always another side. Don't be one-sided has another sense too. Don't favor people you like over people you don't like. That's what we get to practice in Sangha. I mean, we all have, it's like, oh, that person's so warm and cozy, and let's do a little click. And then you watch the little click, and then you watch the people who quote aren't in the little click. Or, I mean, we've been doing this since, this is what we do in grade school. And it gets really mean in junior high and high school. And then it's like, we just practice kindness with everyone. The point is to notice how much in almost all of our encounters we are subtly prejudiced by our one-sidedness, constantly upholding ourselves and those we like and running down in however small a way those we don't like. These prejudices, which we take for granted and affirm, actually cause us more trouble than we realize. They create a subtle climate of preference for and against that gives rise to more of our interpersonal rough spots than we realize. So even though we may not be able to have equal feelings towards all, we may not be able, almost guaranteed, to have equal feelings towards everyone. This is not asking anybody to turn into a saint. It's asking us to turn into human beings with compassionate, resilient hearts. This slogan puts us on notice that we better take our one-sidedness into account and do what we can to de-emphasize it. Isn't that cool? Great spiritual teachings. I don't remember. I had something. I can't remember if I brought something for. Let me just look for the precepts or. No, I'll do it on precepts. That was to get you to precepts now. Okay. So my question is, going into groups, we'll go into groups of three and three. I mean, you can talk about, of course, whatever's up. What's up for you in the discipline of relationship? It may be with yourself. It may be with a beloved. It may be, I was thinking, this is great because we're going towards the holidays and Thanksgiving and, the whole country is what's going to happen here. And what is the discipline? What are we being